Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet BavaMetzia, pages 60 through 66. Samach through Samach Vav. 60. Ein mefarkesin lo ta'adam lo ta'kelim. We're not allowed to be deceptive in improving the appearance of a person or of an article which is being sold in order to deceive the buyer that they're getting a better deal than they really thought than they're really getting. For example, Tanarabanan and Mishavtin et behema, you can't straighten the animal artificially. Venovchin bakravayim, you can't inflate the innards of the animal to give it a more robust appearance that in fact it doesn't actually have. Veinshan tabasa b'mayim, and you can't immerse the meat in water to give it a more whitish appearance, so as to indicate that it's actually a fattier and a more desirable piece of meat. All these tactics are just temporary fixes that give a false impression to the customer, who then will be defrauded. So you can't do these sorts of things. Samach Aleph, 61. Amar Rava. Lamali the Kasav Rachmana, the Yetziat Mitzrayim, Ribit Tzitzit Mishklot. Why is it that the Torah mentions the exodus from Egypt concerning the prohibition on usury, on taking interest, the law of just measures, and the law of tzitzit, the fringes on the four-cornered garments? So why these three things? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, so God says, Ani hu shivchanti ben tipa, shel b'chol tipa shena shel b'chor. I, God, am the one who distinguished between the drop of blood that was from a firstborn and the drop that was from not a firstborn, meaning it's no simple task to identify who is the firstborn in Mitzrayim, and yet God was able to do so and smite the firstborn and spare the others. So since God is able to identify and discern things which the naked eye of a human cannot see, God is also able to discern those who are cheating regarding these various mitzvot. So, for example, God says, I am in the future going to exact judgment against the person who is tolema otav banochri, who lends at interest, but falsely claims, oh, I'm just watching over my Gentile friend's money. It's not my money that's being charged at interest, but he's lying. Or the person who is talmen mishkalotav b'melech, who dips his weights in salt so as to give a false weight when measuring on the scale his produce for his customers. And lastly, the tzitzit. If a person ties indigo rather than real techelet, which is much more expensive than indigo, on the four corners of his garment, so the Ribbono Shel Olam is saying, I know who's doing what, and I'm going to get you if you're cheating the system. Samach Bet, 62. Amar Rav Safra. So Rav Safra gives a general rule. Kol she'ila b'dinehem, if in the law of the Gentiles, motzin milova lamalva, we would extract money from the debtor and give it to the creditor, and we're talking about an interest payment that was agreed upon, b'dineinu, in our laws of the Torah, machazim mimalva lalova, we will extract money from the creditor who took it illegitimately and give it back to the borrower. So the malva will have to pay back the lova the illegitimate gains he had in his ribit, in his interest. Okay, Samach Gimel, 63. Amarav Nachman, Chlala de Ribita. There's a general rule regarding the laws of interest payments. Chol agar natar le aser. Any time that there is a financial gain for delaying a transaction, that's prohibited. That there should be no time value to money. Now, this, of course, runs counter to much of modern finance, but in the laws of the Torah, as articulated here by Rav Nachman, there should be no financial gain to delayed gratification. Samach Dalad. Hamalvet chavero. If you give money to your fellow, lend money to your fellow, lo yadur mo b'chatzero b'chinam. You should not then live in his courtyard for free. In other words, the borrower should not be doing a favor to his creditor, allowing him to live gratis in the courtyard, because that's effectively an interest payment. And also, even if it's not gratis, even if the borrower charges a rental fee to the creditor, but that rental fee is below the market rate. So there's deliberately being a favor being done by borrower to creditor, precisely because it's borrower and creditor, and he wants to do the guy a favor. All that is forbidden because it's an example of interest payment. Samach Hey, 65. Marbin al hasachar, v'en marbin al hamecher. You're allowed to increase the price of a rental, but not increase the price of a sale. Ketzad, what exactly are we talking about here? Hiskilot chatzero. Let's say you rent out your courtyard to someone, to a renter. The Amar lo, and you say to him, Achshav atanoten li, if you pay me now, hariyulacha be'eser slayim l'shana. You can have the courtyard for $10 for the whole year. V'im shel chodesh b'al chodesh. However, if you pay me on a monthly basis, sel l'chodesh, you have to pay me $1 per month, which will be $12 for the year. So there's a higher price for a month-to-month rent rather than a lump sum in the beginning. Mutar, that's permitted. That's not considered interest payment because it's a different price for a different type of deal. However, if you sell the field, if you pay me now all the whole lump sum, it's $1,000. However, if you pay me later in time of the harvesting, it'll be $1,200. Asur, that's forbidden. Why? Because the sale is happening at a certain juncture, and the price has to be the price. There can't be an increase in the price for the delayed gratification, for the delayed payment. So when it comes to a sale, there's one deal, one arrangement, and you can't fool around with the price. It's a ribis problem. But when it comes to a rental, it's a different arrangement altogether. It's not the same deal. Therefore, different prices based upon payment now versus payment over time are entirely reasonable. Samach Vav, 66. How Shchiv Mirad? There was a guy who was on his deathbed. He was almost dead. Katal Lagita Levitu, and he was writing a divorce document for his wife so that she would not have to become Yevama and therefore be subject to Yibum and Chalitza for his brother. In Gadvatnach, so he was sighing, he was upset, he was groaning about the fact that he was writing a divorce for his wife. Amrale Amai Kamitnach. So she said to him, why are you groaning? What's the problem? In case you live, we'll forget about this divorce. I'll be your wife. It's not a problem. You're not losing me in case you live. Amar Rav Zvid said, what she's saying is just mere words. It's just a bluff. It doesn't count. In other words, if the guy really were to live and survive the illness, the divorce would be a valid divorce. Her comment about it, I'll still be yours, has no halachic value. Everyone have a great week.